Hey, okay, so I'm about to be on Clubhouse. I'm just going to be sharing on Clubhouse, and as soon as I'm done speaking, then I'm going to end this broadcast for privacy purposes. So, good morning, everyone. Let me know if you log on, if you're joining me today, leave a comment. And if you are on Clubhouse, get on Clubhouse. It'll be a way better way to listen to this, especially because you can participate in the conversation by raising your hand. All right, that's my timer. Every morning I'm so nervous that I'm gonna miss it. So I set a timer because this room is phenomenal, y'all. It's fire. Every morning, Camille Dangerfield, it is her club, and it's Monday through. Okay, we're on.
I'm good.
Hopefully you can hear okay.
Hey, Crystal.
Good morning, good morning. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. Crystal is going to be sharing with us this morning on the topic of functional nutrition. And so I'm excited to discuss this because our health and fitness and, we haven't really talked too much about our being intentional with our physical bodies in here. It's been, mostly we talk about mindset and spiritual things and relationships. We've talked a little bit about a few health topics, and of course, all of the mental and emotional stuff and relationship stuff. Nothing is separate, right? It all does impact our health one way or another. But this morning, we're going to specifically talk about nutrition. And so after I recite the creed, I'm going to turn it over to Crystal. And then, as we always do, we'll open it up for anyone who has questions for her or just anything to share about their journey with nutrition. Hold on one second, guys. I'm sorry.
This creed, y'all, I say it every morning. Not even just the days that we do Clubhouse. I say it every morning.
I'm back. So let's go ahead and recite the creed. Pull it up if you have it. And then directly after that, I will turn it over to Crystal.
I keep it on my phone, the creed.
All right. I, Camille Dangerfield, am an intentional woman and accept full responsibility for creating a prosperous and abundant life. With God's help, I am the master of my thoughts, words, emotions, and actions, and stay in continuous alignment with the woman I have chosen to become. I am purposeful. I hold a crystal clear vision for every area of my life and use my gifts, skills, and abilities to perform the work I was created to do. I understand that my harvest is a result of my habits. Therefore, I am committed to establishing any habits and routines that are necessary to achieve success. I am powerful. I strengthen and nourish my mind, body, and spirit daily. I maintain a strong relationship with God, and I practice active faith. I believe in myself.
Say it with us.
I believe in myself. I believe in myself. I believe in myself because I am confident in the power of the Spirit of God that dwells in me. I am prosperous. I continuously sow seeds of word, time, energy, and money to cultivate a bountiful harvest in my garden of life. My health is abundant, my finances overflow, and my relationships are harmonious and full of love, respect, and joy. I am a woman of ever-increasing value, and I keep several streams of income flowing into my life. I am peaceful. I keep my environment clean, tidy, and full of positive energy. I extend grace and respond in all circumstances from a place of power, love, and a sound mind, because I am certain that all things are working together for my greatest good. I am calm and unshakable as I navigate the challenges of life. My life is blessed and highly favored, and I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am a beautiful, phenomenal, loving human being, and I live an intentional life.
Let me know if you want that grade, y'all.
And so just a little bit about Crystal. For those of you who don't already know her, if you've been tapping into the room, you see her up here in the mornings. But
I'm going to switch over to Data, just might cut out.
In Kingston, her husband, I'm not sure. Yeah, there he is on the first row, followed by the speakers. Kingston is here this morning. But Crystal and Kingston, they guide millennials to have a functional faith, to experience the divine all the time, even in dysfunction and doubt. From fruit to root, they teach a holistic and healing spirituality, and they do have a Facebook group, so definitely tap through to Crystal's Instagram and join the Facebook group as well. But they really look at every area of life as it pertains to faith, and nutrition is part of that. And so functional nutrition is wrapped all into functional faith. And so I'm going to turn it over to Crystal to tell us what functional nutrition even is, and a little bit about her story of how she started down this path. So thank you, Crystal, for being here this morning, and go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Camille. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. This is a big part of my heart. So hello, everyone. I'm Crystal, and I'm trained in the science and the art of functional nutrition practice. I'm not a dietitian or nutritionist, but I am an educator, coach, and practitioner of holistic health and spirituality. So what is functional nutrition? Getting to the root cause of dysfunction and disease is what functional nutrition is. It's similar to functional medicine, but the focus is strictly on our food, right? So to kind of give more of a background as to how I came to practicing functional nutrition, I'm going to share a bit of my story, like Camille said. So it's my story from post-traumatic stress to post-traumatic growth. Sitting beside my mom in her hospital bed, seeing her in a medically induced coma and on life support, not knowing whether she would live or die, life never actually made more sense. There was no question in my mind that her living a life where she felt overly responsible for everyone, with difficult relationships and prioritizing others' well-being over her own had contributed to her condition. Nothing mattered more than her quality of life in that moment. Nothing frustrated me more than her being treated like a subarachnoid hemorrhage rather than my self-sacrificing, loving mother. Nothing motivated me more than trusting that I could support her with nutrition and see her body regenerate what was lost if we could just get her out of ICU. And that's exactly what we did. My mom had a feeding tube, and when I read the ingredients, I requested to talk to her dietitian. She told me that this was standard and what my mother needed. I told her this may be standard for the American diet, but frankly, that's sad, which it's funny, not funny for those of you who get that joke, and not what my mom would consume outside of the hospital. So it certainly wasn't what she would want in her recovery. I paid out of pocket for food called Real Foods blends that's for use in a feeding tube. Her doctors couldn't say enough about how much of a miracle the speed and substance of her recovery was. After multiple seizures, of her brain, pneumonia, a tracheotomy, ventriculitis, a blood transfusion, and more, my mother regained her ability to walk. to talk and care for herself as well as my 3 kids 3 times a week for 5 hours a day. Can I get a hallelujah?
That's amazing, Crystal.
It is amazing.
I've never even heard of what did you call the blend of the food that you paid for your
It's
mom?
called Real Food Blends, and it was actually created for children who require a feeding tube. But it's expanded from there, and it's whole, like organic whole foods, like quinoa, salmon, spinach, but it's pureed and able to be used in a hospital setting.
Wow, I bet a lot of people don't even know that they have the option to advocate for their loved ones in that way.
Yeah, very few people know that. But it's huge, and I strongly believe it's part of the reason that she recovered so quickly. That, and of course, the power of prayer. And I think prayer led me to the Real Foods blends. So I'd like to say it was from that point forward that I dedicated my life to being an advocate for functional nutrition. But that I saw the link between our mind, body, and spirit and became a freedom fighter. But the truth is, I continue to struggle with my own feelings of being overly responsible. Since I was a little girl, I felt it was my job to keep others happy. I struggled with anxiety and depression for as long as I could remember, and maybe there's someone in the room that can relate to that. And then I found myself around 9 months postpartum with my second child standing on the side of a bridge. It took the horror of this scene for me to finally get help. I told my chiropractor, and she discovered that I had low vitamin D, low progesterone, and recommended a brain balancing supplement that I still take today. I would like to say it was from this time forward that I dedicated my life to functional nutrition. But 2 years ago, when my daughter was a newborn, my husband threatened suicide again and again and again, and this wasn't the first time. And interestingly enough, he wasn't even the first romantic relationship where I experienced this. But no one, to my knowledge, had ever come this close. And never before had I been able to identify it wasn't about me or even them and their brain chemistry. My husband was pre-diabetic and had candida. When we began addressing his gut, his mental health became more manageable for him. I would like to say it was from this time forward that I dedicated my life to functional nutrition. But around August of last year, my counselor started talking to me about my symptoms of ADHD and bipolar disorder. She recommended I establish care with a primary care physician and referred me to a psychiatrist. My primary agreed with my counselor and also wrote me a referral to a psychiatrist. I tried and asked to pay out of pocket, but I couldn't get into a psychiatrist. It was the strangest thing. This process drug out long enough for me to do a deep dive into holistic psychiatry. I had joined a nutrition program the previous November and remember the reference to a book on the topic. This book and the idea of functional nutrition changed my life. Since I started to use food as medicine, I haven't had a single episode of depression. Yeah, it's nice. It is real nice. I've seen food relieve me from my depression and relieve my ADHD symptoms. It's still there. I still have to be very mindful and balanced. It's manageable though. I don't say it's cured or healed, but I say I'm in remission and that it's manageable. I've seen food relieve my husband of his anger and depression. I've seen food help my mom live with quality of life after a traumatic brain injury. I've seen food help my quadriplegic dad heal wounds, deep wounds. I've seen food get my brother into remission from Crohn's disease without pharmaceutical medicine. So I'm going to go back to what exactly is functional nutrition. The Institute of Functional Medicine says there are foundational conditions of a functional practice, and that is that it deals with root cause resolution rather than just dealing with symptoms. It is a systems approach, meaning it approaches the body as a network, not as siloed organs or individual parts. And it is the practitioner and client have a therapeutic partnership. So the practitioner doesn't stand in the seat of authority and just dictate what the client or patient should do. Rather, it is a partnership that's meant to be therapeutic and life-giving to the client. So the pillars of the way that I practice. I call it release, receive, and retrieve. The first pillar, release, is dealing with non-negotiables for your body, and this allows us to clear the muddy waters. It's impossible to find the root cause of our symptoms when and I should have started with this. The way that I practice, the way I was taught to practice, is really to empower the patient, to use empathy and education and empower the patient to care for themselves, right? To stand really in that seat of authority in their health journey so that they can be that advocate, like you said, Camille. So the non-negotiables, clearing the muddy waters. So I start off with releasing dairy, gluten, and refined sugar, because we know that these things, it's just without a doubt, these things are very inflammatory to the body across the board. Gluten wasn't always that way, right? In communion, we take the bread and the water, but the way that our gluten is processed today is very inflammatory. The body isn't able to recognize it as a usable source of fuel that's life-giving. So that's another conversation for another day, though. But that begins to just calm things down enough to see what's really going on in there in our bodies. So we dismiss foods that aren't serving us, and that can be different for different people. For some people, coconut oil gives them energy and helps them, be satiated throughout the day. For other people, coconut oil gives them a rash, right? For some people, eggs are great brain food with the omega-3s, but for other people, eggs trigger an autoimmune reaction, and so they have to avoid it at all costs. It's very different and unique to every person because we have bio identification. We're biodiversity is what I mean. So the next pillar from release is receive. So we're moving from deficiency to sufficiency, where most of us have some level of deficiency in our bodies because our soil is so depleted today, and we live such stressful lifestyles where it's just go, 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 and we are up late and up early, and not really moving with the rhythm of the sun. So most of us have some level of deficiency in our bodies. So we're moving you from deficiency to sufficiency by eating the rainbow and supplementation if necessary. And then the next pillar is retrieve. And that is where we're actually dismantling dysfunction. What's interesting, and that's when we're bringing in kind of the bigger guns, doing more, where we're recommending more, interventions, right? And most practitioners and doctors, even functional medicine doctors, most of them start at that tier 3. But you can see from my explanation of the releasing the non-negotiables in the food that isn't serving you, that's muddying the waters, and the receiving, moving from deficiency to sufficiency, that starting at retrieving, dismantling the dysfunction, it's jumping ahead. It's putting the cart before the horse. But a lot of doctors come in and they just want to, maybe some of you guys have been to a holistic medicine practitioner, and they, at the first appointment, sent you home with like a ton of supplements that were expensive. And that's just treating the symptoms or treating the diagnosis. Like, oh, well, there's this protocol, there's this list of supplements that you get people who present in this way. And that's just really putting the cart before the horse. So we want to start, we want to get to the root of things. So we say that for level 3. So the process that a functional practitioner uses, a functional nutritionist, or a functional medicine doctor, or a functional medicine coach, a functional nutrition coach, which I am, uses is to assess first. And that's through an extremely thorough intake form. It gets deep with it, and it's a bit time consuming, but it's worth it. And then doing a thorough health history, and putting it all on a timeline so that you can see, oh, wow, when my mother was in the hospital, I started dealing with more blood sugar issues, which makes sense because cortisol affects our blood sugar, and I was very stressed at that time. And I was just eating hospital food, which is surprisingly unhealthy. So you can see on a timeline, okay, well, this is when I started seeing these symptoms present. Maybe I need to not only focus on eating healthier, but maybe I need to do some healing work because I have some PTSD from that season. Maybe I need to do some forgiveness work because I'm angry with God still for ever having to experience that, for ever being put in that position. So it's assessing first. We do a food, mood, poop journal is what I call. It's like it's food journaling, but with also tracking, not just calorie. I don't really track calories and stuff. It's just, what are you eating? How does it make you feel? And how is it releasing from your body? And so that helps us to learn how to listen and tune in to our body and what it is saying, because it is speaking, whether or not you know how to listen. And then I also use a matrix so that you can see a picture of the different areas of your life, and the different areas of your life and how they can be balanced or imbalanced, and just laying it all out so that you have a clear picture to reframe your health with. And then so it's assess, recommend, and that's where we're recommending food. Sometimes we're also recommending things to do for your feelings. And Camille, this is where you brought up that we help with holistically with different areas, every aspect of our lives. So our recommendations are food. It's also things under the category of feelings, like meditation, different forms of meditation, affirmations, and doing inner work, fitness and movement, which can be as simple as just mobility and stretching. Faith and purpose, because our food and our faith go hand in hand. It really does. There's something called the cephalic phase of digestion. And so when we eat, when we smell food, even before we're eating, when we're thinking about eating, we start to salivate. There's a physiological connection just with our thinking, right? And so when we are eating in a stressful stance, then it's harder we're in the fight or flight. But when we're eating from a place of joy and gratitude, and we're blessing our food, and we're thankful that God has provided this for us, it calms our nervous system, and we're able to eat out of rest and digest. And for some people, that alone, because there's so much built up around their relationship with food, there's been so much guilt and shame and negativity built up around food, and having to count their macros and count their calories. Sometimes that alone is enough to help them to lose the last few pounds, or have more energy after they eat. And so there's assess, recommend, and then there's, I didn't even finish the recommend part. Sometimes it's working on the marriage. Sometimes it's working on the relationships in the family with their children. Sometimes it's bringing in more quality time with friends, and sometimes it's looking at our finances. All these areas impact our nutrition, impact our digestion, and what our food, because we're not what we eat, but what our bodies can do with what we eat. And our bodies can't do very much with what we eat if our relationships are toxic, or our finances are dysfunctional, because we can't even afford to buy the foods that we need to make our bodies feel the best, right? And so assess, recommend, and track. We track our progress so that we can actually see how we're moving, how we're progressing. Because sometimes, you just get so used to these aches and pains and having a headache every day, you don't even notice when you are waking up in the morning with more pep in your step. And then it's just repeating that process: assess, recommend, and track. So why is it worthwhile to be more intentional with our nutrition? Well, if we're not being intentional in this area, if we're not practicing functional nutrition with ourselves and with our families, then it's similar to, I liken it to putting a lid on a pot of boiling water. That is what we're doing every time we get a headache and we take a Tylenol or an Advil. That's what we're doing every time we take a pill for our symptoms. And I shouldn't say every time, when it's just a quick fix like that. And that's the only thing we're doing, is what I should say. There's certainly the nutritionist that taught me. She is an expert. She's worked with thousands of people, and the top functional medicine doctors call on her for help. And the top doctors, the top integrative medicine practitioners go to her because she's able to get results where no one else has been able to get results, or people who have made a big effort already and have a big level of need, a big diagnosis, right? Big symptoms. She's able to get to the root cause and help them find relief. But she takes medicine for her thyroid, for her Hashimoto's thyroid disease. So it's not that medicine is the enemy by any means, but that's also not the only thing that she does. She has changed her diet and lifestyle completely, and that keeps her in remission and well. But when we are only treating the symptoms, we're putting a lid on a boiling pot of water rather than turning down the fire. Functional nutrition and lifestyle practitioners help you to turn down the fire on all the inflammation and everything that's going on inside. I've also heard an analogy of looking for a person was looking for their keys in a park at nighttime, and a police officer came up to them and said, "Sir, can I help you? What's going on?" He said, "I've lost my keys. I can't find them anywhere. I've been looking and looking, can't find them. Please help." So together they look. Where that person was looking. They're looking all over the place. And finally the officer says, "Sir, are you sure you dropped your keys here?" And he's like, "No, I'm pretty sure I dropped them like 50 yards that way." And the officer's like, "So why are we looking here?" And the man says, "Well, this is where the street light is." So the the moral of that story the moral of that story is, don't we so often just look. We look for the keys to our health where the light is shining brightly or brightest. And that tends to be the downstream issue. That is where most doctors, whether typical doctors, allopathic medicine, or functional medicine or integrative medicine doctors look most of the time is downstream, right? We're looking at where the light is shining the brightest, where the person is experiencing the most pain, where it's obvious. And the root of our health is actually upstream. It's what led to the diabetes, what led to the depression, what led to the anxiety, what led to the weight gain, what led to the IBS or the SIBO or all these different conditions that we're diagnosed with, what led to the arthritis. It's dealing with what's upstream. And that is where goes back to us having two brains. And a lot of us don't know, but we have two brains. One is in our head and one is in our gut. There's actually something called the vagus nerve that connects our gut and our brain. And Andrea Nakayama is the nutritionist that I've learned from. And she says she's never seen anyone with IBS, with diagnosed IBS, who didn't also have some level of mental health concerns. They're so interconnected. Actually, most of our serotonin, almost all of our serotonin is produced in our gut. But when we go to the doctor with mental health distress, they usually just focus on the brain chemistry, and that's old science. It's not wrong, it's just incomplete. It's a yes and, right? We can address that in multiple ways, but it has to lead to dealing with the gut. So I'm going to kind of skip some of my notes because I'm getting excited and adding more than what I meant to say. But mindful eating is really important, and that's a simple step, practical step that you can take, is to cook your meals at home. Because like I said, digestion actually begins when you're thinking about your food, when you're putting intentions into your food, when you're stirring and flipping and blending, when you're smelling the food. All this helps to get your body primed and ready to turn your food into fuel. It actually, your mitochondria turn your food and oxygen into energy, and that's called respiration. I'm sorry. And so it is, cellular respiration. And so all this is happening. It's a symphony that's taking place. So something very simple, just cook more meals at home. Take your time while you're cooking, put intentions into your food, say a blessing, or if you're not a spiritual person, just speak gratitude over your food. and it's going to help you digest it better. And digestion is at the root of all health issues. So what I most want you to remember is that you are the agent of your own change. I'm a freedom fighter, not a healer. Not your healer, at least I'm my healer. And you are your healer. You aren't what you eat, you're what your body can do with what you eat. So listen to your body, honor them. They are your temple, your powerhouse. Your body is beautiful, complex, and diverse. Its needs aren't the same as anyone else's or even itself a year ago. Honor it and keep it clean so your power can flow and be a transforming force in your life, the life of your family, and everyone you meet. When you're vibrant, you are magnetic. You draw the right people and opportunities to yourself, and you're naturally magnifying the image of God because God is life, and you are obviously full of it. My clients are busy, but ready to take intentional and radical ownership of their quality of life. They're busy moms, business owners, and teachers, and they are hurting physically, mentally, or emotionally, or they simply want to live their best life. They don't need a cookie cutter approach to dieting. They've been there and done that. They need a clear and simple path forward that's customized to who they are and where they are in life, no matter their diagnosis, dysfunction, or doubt. Functional means useful and whole. That's a definition. I looked it up. I provide the useful guidance, education, encouragement, and meal plans you need so you can be whole and the hero of your story. I'm just taking 10 clients this month, but if you are interested in that, or if you just want to learn more about functional nutrition, just to put it in your toolkit, your arsenal for your intentional life, just DM me, and I'd be honored to do a short call with you and give you resources to help you on your healing journey. At the end of the call, you'll have a snapshot of all the major aspects of your life and health, which I found to be just this alone to be a huge help and a gift in my life. And I'm full of resources. It's like my favorite thing. So if you want to ask me about resources, I have a list of them written down just to keep it narrowed down because I could talk all day just about resources. So Camille, thank you. And I would love to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Crystal. You gave us a lot of great information. I'm still stuck on the story.
I'm going to log off here before she opens up the room to hand raising to protect people's privacy.
To your brother, your father,
if you're on Clubhouse,
yourself,
join us there.
Your husband. Food is so important. And just listening to all of that, I already personally had made a commitment to really elevate in this particular area of my life. But just hearing all of that just impresses the importance of it even more. There's so much that just putting the right things in our mouths can do, right? And I'm speaking for myself. Sometimes we just eat anything just because it's convenient or whatever the excuse, right? But if we want our bodies to show up for us and we want to feel good and we want to just even have energy, right? I think sometimes we just start to accept dysfunction as if it were normal because that's what we've been used to.
Yes.
But if we can have better and avoid certain health issues and even potentially reverse some things just based upon what we eat, I think it deserves our attention, and at least it deserves for us to think about it, be mindful of what we're putting in our mouths and in the mouths of our children, right? So I do have a question. I'm sure there's some other questions. Feel free to raise your hand, guys, if you're in the audience.
Okay, I'm turning it off.
Question for Crystal.
Thank you for watching.
In terms of figuring out, like you mentioned,